What's up, amigos? Commander Jaime here, and we're going over ripples today. So, I recently published out a 13 crit ripple kind of like CFA playtesting kind of video, and I got a request to show like a deck list of what I was playing and what kind of shenanigans I had in the deck. So I thought I do like a quick deck list and then go over my theory crafting on it to explain why I'm playing certain ratios of cards and stuff. So let's go. So of course you want to play the Ripple starter, so that way when you ride the grade 1 tutorial you get the Pavrov grade 2 or the Genovius grade 3, so you're deck thinning efficiently and you're a ride chance, so your rides from grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3 would actually be very consistent compared to other decks. And you will be 8k base and 10k base and all that kind of stuff, so you definitely want to play the Ripple Forewarner. So why am I playing so much crit and only 3 heals? So there's 2 builds that I thought were viable before GBT 13's release, and it was more like a G era ripples kind of build where you focus on the stride turns, and if you got the ripple ride chain early game off, then that's a plus, and you work off of that. The other build that I've been playing recently over the past couple of weeks and months, here and there for fun, is something called 16 crit ripples, and it's pure aggression, and it has units in there to help with the early game as well. And try to kill your opponent as fast as you can. It's very similar to 16 crit Sanctuary Guard, but this time you have the power of Aqua Force you have access to Tidal Assault, and you have Pavrov's grade 2 skill to go off, and other cards that go along with it well. And it's a right chain too, so it's very consistent in the Vanguard riding up and having that consistency there. So from that, the thing is that if you couldn't kill your opponent and you start falling into the late game, there's a very good chance that you would not live. And so with decks now having a better early game, such as Gears going from Time Leap to ZTB, Battle Sisters, and so on, I thought that maybe I should add some heal triggers for G-guarding purposes mainly. Sure, you can heal later on. And a few PGs, because the 16 crit the 16 crit build did not play any PGs nor heals. So it was definitely like an all or nothing deck. And I'll follow why I'm playing this. So I wanted the crit pressure for sure, so I'm playing 13 crit still. You definitely want to play 4 of the Oris trigger. It's the Ripple crit trigger. It has the name, and it goes back to deck. And you can search up to the top 5 cards for Ripple, so you don't minus. And you deck then, and you return a crit. So it's all good in one card, and you can use this to like boost the unit that needs to hit a certain number, and it just goes back. And I typically use this to boost a certain unit before the Alexandros attack, so that way it'll go back to deck and then your Vanguard can attack, so you have a possibility of actually drive checking it. So that's that pressure too. The Petros I play is in case if you need to go into Command of Thavas or Wailing for whatever reason. So having the Thavas name, you're able to shove it into Soul +5 and draw a card, so you don't lose any advantage. And also, if you really need this to like get an attack going or a boost kind of thing, Petros helps in that regard. But most of the time, you won't get his ability off because you're no longer going into Thavas like in the 16 crit build, where it took advantage of Adelaide and Petros, for example. But now you're going into Alexandros, so you don't have the Thavas name, so this is becoming less important. So you could theoretically play different crit triggers if you want to, but I just put it in because it's a crit trigger that has a skill that could come up and it's useful. But you definitely want to play Supersonic Sailor where he's generic and he'll give you the counter charge when you need it. The soul in Ripples isn't as bad. Like, you pretty much have enough soul for your plays, so you don't worry too much about it. So Supersonic Sailor putting himself into a soul is just like an extra thing, but you definitely want the counter charge. And of course, Galifa, the new G-Guard, she's going to Soul Blast to counter charge, so Ripples have no problem with that. So that's a plus for sure. And then the 13th crit is vanilla trigger. FYI, this is the promo, not the promo, this is the shiny crit in the promo sets kind of thing come out a few months ago. So if you want to play a shiny one in real life, this is the shiny guy. Otherwise, just play a different crit. And then the 3 heals, I chose to play the blue wave one because it can countercharge or soul charge. And I don't know about the numbers. Like, this is a theory crafted testing build still. This is not something that is finished and defined and solid, you know, to take in an event. But it is producing good results. I have considered reducing this to 2, but I don't know. So you could theoretically just go back to 16 crits if you want to for the early aggression and just always have the crit pressure. But like I said, I kind of wanted being able to G-guard in the later turns. Because now our G-guards are actually decent with Khalifa and filling that gap for the wave 2 and 3 where we can kick out Floatia and put in like Ice and have Ice Barrier cover the rest, and then Khalifa is good for like countercharging and all that stuff. So being able to G-flip alongside with Alexandros generically G-flipping as well can help. But yeah, and if you got the other healer trigger, you could just bind in a counter charge. So that's very useful and is much appreciated. So let's go into the grade 1s. You definitely want to play 4 Tutorial. He is the grade 1 Ripple right chain. And so 8k base, and then when a grade 2 writes this and it's not Pathroth, you look at the top 7 cards and search for Pathroth, and then write it, and then shuffle your deck. So if you misride, you can try to fix the right chain. If you misride on purpose and try to fix the right chain, but fail to do so, you pretty much have to rely on Odysseus to fix your right chains. So what's nice is that if you have Odysseus and Sartorial in your hand, as your Vanguard, you can write a grade 2 that's not Pathroth on purpose to help Vectin your deck, and then if you decked in appropriately, you're good. So then you call Odysseus and then do it again to like get another Pathroth out of the deck too, on top of that. So, and that's one of the reasons why we still play Odysseus, is because he's able to deck in efficiently, because most of the time you'll call this starting in grade 1 if you have him that early, and you'll fix grade 1 right chains, grade 2 right chain, and then potentially grade 3 right chain, depending if you're grade 3 first or you can't stride for whatever reason. So you can manipulate that to your advantage. And to worth note, in this deck thinning with the right chain itself and Odysseus, it helps to hit your triggers on your drive checks and even on your damage checks. And you can see in my video where I'm just like critting people often enough, and somebody in Facebook even commented like, man, you have really good luck. Like, I don't know if that's legit, but with Ripples being able to deck in throughout those turns like right away, you'll be surprised how drive checking a trigger in general comes up. Have you ever had the experience where you ride a grade 1 in any other deck and sometimes you just drive check that crit right away? Or it happens to you? Well, now it's going to happen a little more often, because as soon as you ride your right chain pieces, you're just going to try to like deck them, searching up for your right chain pieces. To add to the defense, I added 2 PGs. You can add any of the PGs you want to. What I did is that I stick with Plato because I am playing at least 2 copies. If one of them is in the drop, then when I PG with the second one, then I'm going to countercharge. So that's useful. Most of the time you really don't care about your regards after you use them, but it could come up. So more testing will tell. But I just wanted the option that if for whatever reason my PG is in the drop because of Metiara's skill, the grade 3 Ripple, or if I wrote it and so blessed it with Seagull Soldier over here, it's already in the drop at that point. And so when I PG, it'll countercharge. So that's useful. That way you don't have to use Khalifa skill to countercharge, and so Khalifa will still be face up, so you get a bigger boost for Alexandros, which is big, especially in a restand regards. And of course, to add the pressure to it is Seagull Soldier, where you can sub blast 1, give it a unit plus 3k. This could include your Vanguard. This is relevant when you ride onto Pathroth, and I'll explain a little more when you get to Pathroth. But the point is, like, you can manipulate this guy on Tidal as well, make Tidal a 12k attack, and then boost again to make a 14k column attack. So this is good for the early game for sure. And if you go to the late game, you can bounce him back at the end of the 4th battle it boosted too. which can come up. And I played 3 because I wanted to see him at least once in the early game. I've had luck with Blue Wave in that sense with the Anger Boil build, so I had the same philosophy with this build as well. And I don't play any Nikki, the Strike Fighter, and I made room for Orpheum. I'm playing 13 Grade 2s, so otherwise I would have played 2 Orpheus. The reason you don't really need Nikki is because of the ride chain. Again, like as soon as you ride, you have a chance of hitting Genovius. The Grade 3 Mitziatis searches for a Ripple when it's placed on Vanguard and you Counterblast. It checks top 3 for Ripple, and from that you can grab potentially your Stride Fighter in a sense, your Genovius or your Mitziatis. And I've actually did that in one of the games too, where I didn't have anything to stride with, and I found a Genovius as soon as I rode to Grade 3, and used the Genovius to stride. So with Orphea, being able to only have one slot left, I wanted to be a card that could be useful in the late game anyway, and that would be Orphea, because it's GB restricted, and so this helps push more attacks against your opponent, especially since our only restand in this deck is Title. You have to rely on Alexandros and Lambros to restand our regards. So this adds to the pressure, especially when you have Alexandros pumping up a rearguard super big. You want to abuse the power up from that unit. And especially if you have crit, it's just way much deadlier in that sense. And it has resist, so it's useful that against like control decks that can't choose still. So in that regard, it helps. That's pretty much for the Grade 1s. What I was gonna say with Seagull Soldier earlier with Pavrov, if you give the 3000k to Pavrov and you are on a cost ridden, if you roll over Sartorial, you're a 10k base plus 3 makes it 13, and if you have a 7k booster, it could be him or somebody else, it's a 20k line. So you can drop any other Grade 2s or Grade 1s that early on, such as Lapis or Tidal Assault. You kind of want to keep Saber Flow in the hand for the later. But the idea is that that attack is so big that if they have like a 9k Vanguard, they have to make it a 2-card drop to make it a 1 to pass. So if you had let's say a 10k trigger, it's a 19k column, and it's just like, oh crap, I'm still short, so I need to drop another card, and it may be a 1 pass, and if they don't have the right cards. But you're guaranteed to drop them either 2 cards or you're going to hit. And if you do hit, you can choose one of your rear guards, stand it, and then it gets +3. So you can even choose Tidal Assault if he already attacked or he hasn't attacked yet, just to power him up to dish out more attacks. And if, let's say you had Lapis and you attack the rear guard and then you attack the Vanguard with that 20k line, and it hits, you're going to restand Lapis, and Lapis is 12. So, and if you have a booster, then that's even more. If you still have the booster standing, of course. So that's big. Pavrov is definitely something to be aware of. The Tidal Assaults for sure you want to play is for the aggression in the early game. Late game, he's very useful because you can abuse him with Alexandros, like I said. You can extend the attacks even more with Orphea behind him, assuming that he's big enough to hit. What else? And it just works with ripples in general. So, oh, that's one thing. You can use Odysseus to grab him out on the Grade 2 turn and give him a +2, so he's at 11k. So if your opponent has a 6k Vanguard, Tyler's going to hit numbers because he's going to hit 11. And so on. You're going to be using with Seagull Soldier as well, like I said. Now, with Saberflow and Lapis, now, the 16 crit build used to play Adelaide, but that's because you were reliant on first striding Thavas. Since we're not doing that anymore, Adelaide has become kind of pretty much useless in that sense. So you can fill the spot with different units. I just decided to choose 3 Saberflow and 2 Lapis for 2 reasons. The Saberflow is to help you draw more power. So that way you have a decent or a big hand. Because we're not running any draw triggers. And the thing about Alexandros' wave pattern is really nice. So you have your 2 rear guards to attack, and Alexandros is 3rd. restand them. Now your next rearguard attack is going to be the 4th battle. So a card like Saber Flow is going to go off much easier than it used to be, where you had to get to the 4th battle for your Vanguard. But now the Vanguard doesn't have to do that. In fact, it makes rearguards that go off on the 4th battle a lot easier to do. So cards like Saber Flow become much more viable to do. And so it's an auto, and it's not a once per turn. So if you abuse this with an Orpheum behind, and it is the 4th battle, you don't have to use the skill right in that moment. You can abuse it with Orpheum to get another attack, and since it's still the 4th battle of that turn or more, then you can do it and get 2 cards out of it and get an extra attack because of Orpheum. It's an 8k base, I get that. You can fix that with Seagull Soldier. Seagull gives it a +3 to make it 11k. So it could hit Vanguard by itself theoretically. And it can be used with the boosters such as like the crit trigger, Horus, where he's a 4k making it a 12k line. And then since this guy checks at the end of the battle, then you get your card back and Saberflow hits, and then you restand with Alexandros. It gets beefier, and if it hits or even if it doesn't hit, you reach the 4th battle and you get 2 new cards, so that helps still. And the reason with 2 Lapis is because it has the Ripple name, and that's important because the Crit Trigger Oris and the Metiatis over here, they both look for the Ripple name. So having an extra Ripple card name helps, and he's a 12k attacker in the sense that you need 2 or more Ripples that are rested. And this includes if this is boosted by a Ripple. So let's say you already had a Ripple that was on the other column rested, and you needed 1 more. If you boost this with a Ripple, that Ripple that's boosting counts it, so it automatically gets that +3. So if you're boosting with Oris, the crit trigger, it makes a 16k line. But if you're boosting with something else, it makes a 19k line. So that's actually, it can come up too, especially like on the grade 2 turn, like I said. You're hitting 19k against a 9k Vanguard. That's good. And one more thing to note with Pathroth, since you are 10k base, you're able to hit grade 2 Vanillas, the 10k. Just like Luart used to play. I don't know if Luart still plays it. I don't think he needs to. But if you're still facing a deck that plays 10k grade 2s, you can still hit. And even with Seagull Soldier with a +3 and a 7k booster, you're still hitting 20k, which is a good number. So that's why I'm playing those guys. And for the grade 3s, I'm playing 4 Matiautis, 3 Genovias, and 1 Champion of Storm Tavas. So you want to ride Matiautis for sure, because when this unit is placed on Vanguard, counterblast 1, check the top 3, add up to 1 Ripple from your from that to your hand, and then put the rest into your drop. So this helps with having like a soft +1, and it comes very handy, especially since you don't run draws. And like I said, you can fetch your grade 3s out of deck easily too, if you so happen to hit them, and then you just use them for stride instead of pitching 2 to stride, which could suck. When he's in Legion, he has the skill where if the number of your units in the front row is 3 or more that are rested, then you can choose one of your rearguards, stand it, and then countercharge 1. And of course, if you have the number of back rows 3 or more, you draw a card. So it refunds or helps you +1 in that sense too. But you don't really Legion that often until you know that A, you have to because you can't stride, and if you stride, it would just hurt your turn because you don't have a board set up. Or 2, this is the turn to return 4 crits into deck and set up your field and go into this Legion turn, which you can possibly even proc Genovias, where Genovias is the original grade 3 for the right chain. And point is, it's limit break 4, counterblast 2, and discard 1 of itself. And at the end of the battle, you just restand your whole field. It's like a Lambros in a sense, but it's just no power up. It just stands your whole field. And you can do more attacks, which actually is relevant in the sense of Champion Tavas. The reason I'm playing Champion Tavas is because of his rearguard skill. It's a restandard, and it's pretty good because it can proc either the first wave or the 4th time. And the wave 4 works with Alexandros because Alexandros is the 3rd battle. Then you can attack with this as the 4th and a restand. If you Legion, Mitiatis can restand it, or Genovius can stand the whole field in that sense. But the point is, you can stand it while you're in Legion, because you do rear guard, and then vanguard attack. That's third wave, and now this stands because of Mitiatis, and now you can attack, and it is the fourth wave, and so it'll proc and restand. So you can take advantage of your drive checks from the twin drive from the Legion. So it's pretty useful. And if you so happen to write them, it's not bad. It's Stavos, the new one, so you get the stride skill benefit, where you can give something resist, and then if it's a wave unit, it can attack from the back row. Which, honestly, I don't think we play that many wave units at all. The only wave unit I think is like Seagull Soldier. Yeah, pretty much Seagull Soldier. But it can come up. But point is, it can give something resist, which is good against like Kagero, Hetero Hound, you name it, all those cards. So that's important. What else? If you have Odysseus, you can abuse your grade 3 turn as well, if your opponent's at grade 2. That way you can do Mitiatis on ride, counterblast, grab a card for free. And not for free, but you grab a card. And then Odysseus, get another Mitiatis from deck. And then, since it's placed on Vanguard, you do the skill again, essentially. And try to get another card from the top 3. And then, it's also good for, like, the Legion turn. Because if you do mill crit triggers, or any trigger of that sort, you can just shuffle them back. Super helpful. And you're almost guaranteeing your drive checks to be at least 1 crit or 2. The G zone, I'm messing with 3 Alexandros. This is the strat you usually go into. Makes very big numbers with your regards. Fantastic card. What's even more scarier is that ripples can push your opponent to 5 damage or 4, and this guy first strike is even scarier because your rearguards are gonna get, even if it's a 5k boost, it can still be very hard to guard, especially if they're at 5 damage and only have so many cards. And if you got the first stride on top of that, that's pretty hectic. If you don't have any counterblast, Blambros is the way to go if you have the setup. Definitely want to keep that pair. Command the Favas is something isn't working out, or you have to go into this because it's the better play, depending on the situation. One of my games, I had like a handful of triggers and only like an Orpheum, and so what I did, I called an Orpheum and called Malika, and just gave Malika +5, and I drove checked 3 triggers, which was nuts. And I think mainly because I was able to deck in a bit. That wasn't with Ripples, that was with Thawas. But the idea is that Thawas can fix your wonky turns. So, and it has a Thawas name, so Petrus becomes useful too. And Wailing too, the same thing. Right now I'm playing 1. You could play 2. Again, if it comes up, this is where you need to go into Wailing. The only thing I can think of is you really need to get rid of a field because you know you're not going to finish your opponent off using Alexandros for whatever reason. And you need to have GB3 at that point. So I don't know. It hasn't come up yet, so I can't really explain it. And right now, filler, I'm trying out Megiddo when it comes up. The idea is that if you don't have anything left, but you have 2 counterblast, you can revive a field, for that, and then +5 and they all attack. That's still good because that's like 6 attacks still, so that could help out. Haven't had the need to use it yet. Hazard Dragon's kind of the same way, where you can just quad check if you can't do more attacks because of Link Joker, but we have Galifa now, so she can unlock too, or countercharge. So I don't know if this guy's going to be in this build any longer, so I might just take him out and put something else. And 2 Galifa for sure. The first one's going to get usually flipped by Alexandros, just in case you need the counterblast to use for the next turn. If you G-guard, then you can use the second one, and then of course you can unflip 2 or unlock 1 and then unflip, or whatever you need to do your turn, which is important. Very helpful against the Link Joker matchup, and very helpful for your resources to keep dishing out. And then you got the Ice Barrier. Like I mentioned, he covers what Galifa doesn't cover, and it's a +10 on top of his 15k shield. We have Ionis, where in case you have a field and you can get a bigger number, or you can give resist to your board, it can come up against, like, I guess, Laurel from D-Police and other cards of that sort. Other than that, it's just another G-Guard. And for the craze, I play Sabreeze just in case I haven't had the need of Sabreeze. Sometimes it may not be the best option, but ripples can work with little counterblasts. So if Sabreeze is the way to go, Sabreeze is the way to go, and your turn won't be hindered. Then I'm also trying the new G guard for the Cray Elementals, where possibly you get more shield value for the number of cards in your opponent's hand. So if this can come up more if you're falling behind and your opponent is just generating an advantage a lot and you've gone too far in the game, and this could help out a lot. But I don't know if this will stay in the deck because most of the time ripples dish out a very early game that's aggressive that their hand's going to be small. So this might not be viable anymore, to be honest, thinking about it. You can try Screw or some other G-Guard. You can even try like an Gleam or Rectome if you're, don't have an Gleam. Dismo's an option too, so that's something to look forward to messing with. Let's see, did I cover everything? But yeah, this is kind of what was behind my theory crafting. The idea was to abuse the Ripple ride chain for consistency of riding, decked in efficiently, abusing the crits from it because it can play a high crit count without being hurt so much. Thanks to cards like Metiatus giving you a soft +1, Saber Flow for helping you, and you got Oris that can go back and, put crit back and give you a card back to your hand. And your strides, Alexandra's is really good. You've probably seen all my games, and this is pretty much the only duo I've gone into most of the time. The one exception of Commander Thavas and one of my Thavas games. But yeah, and ripples can be very threatening where you finish your games very quickly. If you saw the first game with the ripples, I beat Messiah while they were still at grade 2. With Overlord, I actually stalled at grade 2 because I felt like that was the better play. And I just called 2 grade 2s and just went ham because they're at 5 damage, so they had to guard everything no matter what. And then when they rolled to grade 3, they didn't have much to fight back and they couldn't stride. And I mean, what are they going to do? Sabreeze? What's that going to do? In an Overlord deck, not much. They'd rather be on the Purge or something. But that, can hinder. And the point is, you stay on grade 2 when you need to, if you have to. And then you can just ride up and finish them off with either the Legion or your Stride. Because technically they'll be on grade 3 when you ride, so you can Legion or you can Stride, so that helps a lot. And again, it's Alexandra's on first Stride or Legion first Stride, first turn. So it's very deadly. And you're probably asking like, so why not play this over Thalas or why not play this over Blue Wave? And honestly, I can't say right now, but I think ripples are good still in the sense of using the new stuff. Primarily Alexandros, and of course Khalifa. And then I haven't had the chance to use Champion Davos yet, but it still adds to the good stuff. I think that's it. So I hope this was helpful and useful and something that you guys want to try out. Again, this is still not solid. It's not defined yet. This is something that I just theory crafted and try to like, hey, let's test this out and see how it goes. So yeah. So then with that, guys, I'll see you then. See ya. Bye.